Hi, everyone. Thanks for joining me today on the Divine Messages podcast. My name is Karina, and I am a psychic medium out of Calgary, Alberta. Today, we are turning the tables a little bit. One of my students who has been on here with me before to share his spiritual journey is coming back again today, but this time to interview me. So, everyone, please help me welcome Mark back to the podcast. Mark, hi, how are you?
I'm well, thanks. How are you?
I'm good. I'm really excited that we're doing this today because I think it's really different. I'm used to being the one to kind of like interview people. So it's interesting that you're going to interview me.
Oh, I think it's awesome. I think, it's a good opportunity to show your listeners who you really are and the type of person you really are outside of the spiritual world, and how you carry yourself and how you're just the girl next door, just like the rest of us. And it'd be really nice to debunk I guess the thoughts that people have towards mediumship and psychics and all that other neat stuff. So it's going to be great to go through these questions with you. But before we start, I just want to, thank you for the opportunity to do this for you, and be the guy who gets to interview you. It's something I've noticed through my spiritual journey is that this path can be quite challenging and it's very life changing.
It
Uh,
can be, right?
Absolutely. The importance of having a great teacher and a mentor like you has been instrumental in my journey as well. So I just want you to know that. I think that's something that you should hear. I'm just one person out of the many that I'm sure you've touched. Not only do you inspire me to be the best version of myself, but also remind me that love, joy, and happiness is still very much alive in our world. And that excites me, to be honest with you. So thank you for that. Your work in healing others through mediumship and Reiki is truly incredible. If it's okay with you, I'd like to focus on your experiences and teachings as a teacher, student, medium, Reiki master, mom, wife,
Okay.
all the fun
All of the
stuff.
above.
All of
Yes.
the above, yes. Uh,
Amazing. All right. Hit
so,
me up. Let's
all
go.
right. Well,
Ask
let's
away.
let's go. I love this. All right, Karina as a wife. So personally, I believe when we meet our significant others, we begin to blend and strive to become the best versions of ourselves for each other and challenge each other to grow. We love and respect each other, becoming each other's stepping stones and support systems. I know that's definitely for me and Allie. That's for sure. But this dynamic encourages confidence, helping to release fears so our significant others can pursue their soul's purpose in life and to find true happiness that we all deserve that's deep within us. So I've got some questions for you about this.
Okay.
uh, so in the beginning, how did your husband feel about your abilities to heal others energetically with Reiki and communicate with spirit?
I would say, oh gosh, back in the day, I mean, he always knew that I was intuitive. I used to say really weird things to him and then it would happen, or I knew things about people. I was also really sensitive to energies. And so when I embarked, I guess, upon this journey, I think it freaked him out, really. I would say because he just didn't understand this whole world, and I think, he thought I was weird in the beginning, and I was going through a really, really difficult time in my life, and I think for him, it was, "Okay, if this makes you happy and this is what you need to heal, then you go about doing that. You go right ahead." But I think it really weirded him out in so many ways, and then I think it just he had to accept it, I suppose, because I just kept pursuing it. I just felt a deep need within my soul to keep going.
So I think what you're saying there is his love was greater than the oh, what's the word I'm looking for? His love for you is greater than the weirdness.
Yep, I would say that. I think he was like, "I love you so much, honey. Like, you just go do you, whatever you got to do to heal." But, and he was the most incredible supporter. I wouldn't be where I am today had he not been that supportive, but I definitely can say he did not understand it. I think he found it bizarre. Um, and I don't even know if bizarre is the right word. I think it was strange that people just kept coming to our house and, needing my help, really. And I think that was weird for him, but he just got used to it.
That's awesome. How would you compare that to today then?
Today he is the biggest fan that I have. Like wherever we go, he tells everybody what I do. And I'm like, whoa, whoa, not everybody, okay? Like, I don't want to look crazy or weird to everybody. Not everybody needs to know. So I would say that it's changed so drastically. He has had his own experience with mediumship. Like I've channeled his loved ones. And so for him, I think he's so open to it. And I think it also opened up his intuition to an incredible degree. I love how intuitive he is these days.
That's a great segue for the next question. Was acceptance of your path hard for him to initially accept?
I would say it took a while for him to accept that this was our life. And not in a bad way. I think it was just confusing and a little bit difficult to understand why all these people just kept showing up at our house one after another and leaving with like, a handful of tissues in their hand and crying and feeling, like hugging me at the end and saying, "Oh my God, my life changed." Like that's intimidating to someone who's really not open at that time, right? So it took him a while to accept it. I think that this was the path and this was who I really was.
And you earned that nickname Rainmaker from what I remember on the podcast where you were interviewing him.
Yep,
That's
that's it. That's what he still
that
calls me, the Rainmaker. Yeah.
I have to say that did make me laugh when I heard that. Um, what do you think has been the most positive outcome or conversation between you and your husband that you can credit to your spiritual beliefs?
Um,
I'll give you a little bit of an idea where that
yeah,
question came from for me.
yeah,
So when Allie and I were having our issues, like our marital issues, trying to learn about each other, figure out who each other was,
yeah.
the spirituality side that I took, the path that I went on, really helped her and I get
Connect.
closer to one another. Yes,
Yeah, I could
because
see that.
because I was
Yeah,
able to use some of your teachings and some of my learnings and realize what I was doing that was wrong, and being able to reflect on some self responsibility that I was doing that made our relationship hard. So
right.
it really, really helped me out to calm the waters, I guess you could say.
Yeah, I would say that it really helped Nick and I to understand each other on a deeper level, especially I didn't have this awakening until after our kids were born. And so it helped us both to become really intuitive, to be really good parents, to really be empaths on a deep level. And I think that brought us closer together. We just understood each other on a deeper level. Maybe that's the only way I can answer that, really, I
That's
think.
great. I love it. That's such a beautiful answer because really, at the end of the day, that's what you're looking for with your spouse, right? You're looking for that inner connection right to the soul. And
Yeah.
I know I have it, and it's fantastic. And I'm pretty sure you have it as well. But not
Yeah.
everybody is lucky as us to find that, right? So
Yeah.
it takes work.
It does.
It doesn't just happen, that's for sure. And I found that embarking on my spiritual journey and having my awakening really supported my marriage, without a
Yeah.
doubt. Yes.
100%. I can agree to that. I understand that.
Okay, have there been any negative repercussions that you have had to work through with your husband due to the nature of your life's path? And how were they overcome?
Oh, that's a good question. I would say the only thing that's ever really truly been hard or negative has been the impact that it has taken on my soul. And that has, it almost put me in a place where I didn't know how to balance everything with being a mom, being a wife, and then being the go-to, for so many people. And I think that I had to stop and remember what was in front of me and what was around me, like my family and how much they needed me, because I think in the beginning I really gave so much of myself to everyone else, and I think he, especially Nick, had felt really left out, and maybe that I was giving too much to everybody and less to our family. And so we did have conversations about that back in the day, and it helped me to stay grounded and remember that, wait a second, family comes first. I am a spiritual counselor. Yes, I will listen to the world's problems, but I have to remember that my number one is my family.
Oh, that's beautiful. That's such a great answer. I love it. Have there been any positive outcomes that you have celebrated with your husband due to the nature of your life's path?
Oh gosh, many. I think there's so many things that can really say that impacted us in a positive way, knowing that when we lose a loved one, that I'm able to communicate to a degree with them. It's sometimes more difficult because it is so close to me, but I know that I have all the tools to share with him and my kids about how we can connect to spirit so we don't feel so alone here in this world. I think that really has helped us in a positive light. And it has helped him to be more open with his spirituality and faith.
Oh, fantastic. So it's helped him grow as well.
150%. Yeah.
Oh, that's awesome. I love it. I love it. All right, let's find out a little bit about Karina as a mom.
Okay.
As 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 parents, I know with my two stepchildren here, all I want for them is to be happier than me and to be well rounded. And I find teaching them everything that I know is been a bit of an uphill battle sometimes in the way that, do they want to listen to me? Don't they want to listen to me? What do they need to learn on their own? What don't they need to learn on their own? But being a psychic and a medium and understanding what spirituality can bring to someone's life, how do you balance that and how do you fill them up with love and teach them, kindness and strength?
Wow. Well, for so many years, I was scared to be a mom. And Nick and I were together for 10 years without kids. And for the longest time, I had told everybody I wasn't having children. And I think part of that has to do with my traumas in my life that I experienced. But the other part was that even not knowing that I was full psychic or that I was a medium, I did have a really strong intuition and I could see things about the world and people. And I found that really difficult to want to be a mother because I was so scared of everything. I was very fearful. And so now that I am a mom and trying to keep them, happy and just safe and protected, um, I'm not even sure if I'm going to answer your question correctly, but I will say that it's been a journey of trying to balance everything and teach them as best as I can with what they'll want to accept and what they want to learn. But it's been challenging, but lovely at the same time, if that makes any
Oh,
sense at
it
all.
does. It certainly does. Oh, they have to learn their own path on their own and make their own mistakes to understand. That's my true belief in that. But okay, so let's go back to how old are your children?
My oldest is 16 and my youngest is 14.
Okay, so they're getting up there in age. They're
They
getting up
are.
there. Yes. What age did they find out about your abilities?
Well, I would say that my oldest son found out about, yeah, he was probably about 13, like 3 years ago. And the funniest story about that is, I had kind of kept what I did from them for many years. Like they obviously knew I had a healing room and mom would smudge all the time and had clients coming in and out of our house. But I think they really only understood that I did Reiki and maybe some like angel cards. I don't think they really understood the full extent of what I was doing. And so this one day we were standing in the kitchen. Friend had been asking me about the podcast and, quite a few questions about being a healer and stuff. And I guess I just wasn't prepared for all of that. I was like, oh no, I don't know how to answer this in front of my son. And I was like, well, kind of fumbling. And then my son turns to me and he goes, Mom, like, I already know what you do. And I said, What? How do you know what I do exactly? And he goes, I Googled you. I was like, oh, okay. That's where we're going. And so he Googled me. And I thought, all right. So we had to have the talk, and I don't mean the sex talk. It was the talk about, hi, I see dead people, kind of talk. And I thought, oh God, here we go. And he's like, no, Mom, I've known about it. Like I read, everything on your website. I was like, oh shit, he did. So that's how he found out exactly what I was doing. And I had to explain, quite a few things to him, and he just was like, okay, done. And then my youngest son, who's so sensitive to spirits and energy and life, really, I was waiting for him to be a bit older before he found out, but it's funny how spirit works in mysterious ways because last October, so he would have been 13 as well. 13, go figure. They both were 13. But I ended up doing an impromptu group reading at my brother's house one day with some of his friends. And when I start channeling, I'm in a different place. Like, I don't realize some of the things that are going on around me. I forgot that, not forgot, but Nick and my youngest were standing at the table while this was all happening. And I really just had tuned everybody out and was just channeling the messages that were coming to me. And the whole room was crying. There's all these people in there and they're crying. And at the very end of it, it was probably about 1, 2 o'clock in the morning. He turns to me and he's like, Mom, I had no idea that you could do that. How did you do this? And then for the next 2 days after that, he had a million questions about mediumship and spirits and how I communicate. And it was actually quite amazing. I was really grateful that spirit had done it that way because then it just opened up a whole doorway for him. And now he doesn't even question it. He just knows, and his faith has grown even stronger because of it.
Wow, what a great story that is. Was he afraid to find like when he first found out?
No, he was fascinated. I think it really helped him to understand who he was because he can also do what I do, and so I think it was almost like a like recognition of some sort, like, "Oh my god, your soul's like that too, you get it," so it really did help him.
Wow. How lucky is that to be able to understand that at such an early age? How about your oldest? Did he have any fears?
Yeah. I mean, I think for him, I would say it weirded him out, and it still does. I think he doesn't really like to discuss that part or see that side. He's kind of closed off right now, and I respect that. And, not everybody gets this, right? It sometimes takes their own experience and their own journey to be able to open up to it. And just as what happened that night with my youngest, that I felt like that was spiritually guided and it happened as it should. And I really think that it may take him a bit more time to kind of understand it. It's like, okay, you do you over there, and I'll just stay on this side, you know? Does that make sense?
Absolutely. No, it does make total sense. Absolutely. I know with my stepchildren, it weirded out my youngest. He still is a little bit weird about it. My oldest just doesn't speak of it. And I think
Yep.
I think it's I have a feeling my youngest has a little bit more abilities than he thinks he has, but the his intuitive nature is pretty incredible. So I understand what you're saying there. It can be tough. For your listeners out there, on a spiritual level, what do you think is the most important lesson for, say, an adolescent between the ages of 5 and 10?
I would say for that age group, like if I go back to even my journey back then, um, I think the most important thing is to help them to acknowledge what they're seeing is actually in fact real. Because for me at that age, I was, going to my parents all the time and saying, this person's standing at the end of my bed, or this is like scaring me. And they would just like brush it under the rug, like, and say that I was kind of crazy. um, and that I was making it up. And to be fair, most parents, if the kid says at that age, "Hey, there's a monster under my bed," the parents go, "There's nothing under there. You're fine." But they're feeling something, and I think it's important for kids that age to understand that their feelings are valid and real, and that will help them as they get older. Because if we're stifled or we're told that we're crazy or we're imagining it, it's hard to decipher what's real and what's not real. And then it's hard to trust as we get older, right?
Well, that led into my next question for you. Do you feel that, telling them that you're not really seeing anything, it's all your imagination, do you think that helps close their mind down to their abilities?
Yes, it does. And I
That's
think it also makes them question everything and not know how to decipher again what's real or what's not real. And then it really starts to make them overanalyze things, I think, to a certain degree, trying to make sense of things. And it's just, I think it's very confusing.
Agreed. Definitely agreed. Okay, let's have the children age. And what would that lesson be between the ages of 13 and 18?
Oh gosh, I think the most important thing that, teenagers really need to know is to trust their intuition at all times. I think the biggest spiritual lesson that any of us as parents, as healers, as teachers, if we could teach them how to trust their intuition, that would be the greatest gift that any teen could ever have. And that's something that I talk to my kids about all the time is like if it feels icky, if it doesn't feel good from the inside and your heart's racing and you just feel off, that's your angels and your guides trying to warn you of danger or something that's, not right. I wish that all kids, especially teens at that age could really trust that or that intuitive feeling of, "Hey, maybe I shouldn't get in that car with that guy who was drinking." Like, we all have intuition, and in hindsight, we all look back and go, "The red flags were all there, we knew it. I wish that we would have paid attention. I wish that we would have done it differently." If we could just tell them now, "Hey, trust your gut on everything. Don't get in that car if it feels icky. Don't go to that party if you don't feel good about it." Like, trust it. If I would have known that back then, oh my god, my life would be very different right now.
You and me both. You and me both for sure. I wish I had somebody to tell me that at a young age to just follow my instinct, but unfortunately, we all don't have that type of person to guide us through our lives. It is what it is, and then we have to learn our own path. But
Right.
if you think about that, is it easier to find your path without that direction? Hmm, that's just
Huh, I
something
know,
that's
to ponder, I don't know.
yeah, like I said, like was it easier for me to find my path and what I did because I didn't have that sense of direction? Would
I
I
would
be a
say,
whole
yeah.
yeah,
Mhm.
would I be a whole different person today? Maybe,
Yeah.
right? Would have I
Hard
met
to
my
say.
wife? I don't know, right? I think the what happened in my life is what was meant to happen. And I think you
Right.
probably believe that too.
Oh, 100%. Yeah, I wouldn't be who I am today if I didn't go through those experiences, for sure. But I do also think that knowing this and having these tools and being a spiritual teacher and mentor to many people, I feel that is a huge responsibility, but I feel that through spirit, we're learning all of these amazing tools to help the younger people, at least to avoid certain heartaches and give them the tools that we didn't have. I think that's a gift all in itself.
Oh, I couldn't have said it any better myself. That's beautiful. Another question for you here then. It's how do you balance everything and let your children follow their own path when you truly know what God or the universe or spirit guides have to offer them?
Oh,
S-
that's a tough one, Mark, with free will. Um, I think that's probably going to be my most difficult challenge as a medium and being a mom because when you see them make these mistakes, and we can't call them mistakes really, because that's not fair. I mean, we all have a path and we do have free will and we have to make choices that are some are, destiny and some are just part of learning. But I think it's hard to balance that in a sense because I see so much and I'm like, I want to save them from everything and save them from making poor choices and I can't always do that. I have to trust that their journey has been mapped out before they came here. They chose me as their mom, and all I can do is give them the tools and just pray that they make the right choices and decisions and pray that their guides and their angels are always surrounding them to keep them safe. That's the best thing I can do. I know that they have their lessons that they have to go through on this earth, and it's not easy for me to be a mom and watch that. I feel like I wanna just save them, and I know I can't. So that I find difficult, but it's part of all of this existence in the physical realm, right? I have to let go sometimes.
Yeah, do you think sometimes children are meant to make the mistake
Yes.
because they need to grow the strength
Yes.
to be who they're about to become?
Yes, but as a mom, it's like, no, I don't want them to. I don't, and as a spiritual healer, I don't want them to make those mistakes or have these little things go wrong because I just want to, bubble them up and protect them. But I know that that's not possible. I understand that very, very well. All I can do is love them harder, give them the tools, and ultimately it's up to them, right? So. That's even hard for me to say because being a psychic, I mean, I'm known to be a control freak in some ways, not like in a really negative way. Just I want to fix it. I want to be the healer at all times, and I know I can't always be, and
The
that's
the
hard.
the healer or the avoider,
Yeah,
right? You want them to avoid those mistakes that you
yeah.
see coming. And I totally understand that. It's been hard for me to keep my mouth shut in moments of that as well, where you just see it coming and you're like, well, you know what I'll do? I'll pick you up when you fall. I'll love you stronger later, but I'm gonna have to let you make this one on your own.
Oh, it's rough. It's
Yes,
rough. Not gonna
very,
lie, it's rough. And
very
I'm still
tough.
trying to navigate that. I can't say I have all the answers to that. I don't.
I
It's
don't
one day at a
think
time.
Yeah, no, for sure. I think as parents, I don't think we'll ever be able to be masters of that because like you
Yeah,
said earlier, we just want the best for them always, right? So,
that's right.
and sometimes I hate to say it, the best is letting them make their mistakes, and that's hard to swallow.
Whew, yeah, yeah, that's hard for me, but I'm learning. I'm learning, Mark. I'm trying.
Well, I'm sure you're doing a great job. All right, well, let's find out a little bit more about Karina as Karina.
Okay, what would you like
All
to
right.
know?
So your abilities, they obviously come with great karmic responsibility.
Mm-hmm.
As and I've seen this firsthand, how selflessly you act with kindness and compassion towards humanity. So when I say that, it can be very hard to continue that path sometimes. And I want to know, as Karina, what keeps you on that journey?
Um, well, I think when all of this unfolded in my life, I was really at a time where I was going through the worst of the worst. I was struggling and in so many ways. And I think working with people and helping them really just kept me going. And I think if I keep that in my mind of helping others really saves me in so many ways, that's what keeps me doing it because it is hard. This is one of the hardest things that I've ever had to go through in life is being that counselor for so many people and having so much on my head and knowing people's deepest secrets um and their deepest traumas and pains. Like that's a lot on my head and a lot on my soul. But knowing that I can channel out what they need to hear to live their best life, that's the most rewarding thing ever. And that's what keeps me doing this.
Wow, that's amazing. That's amazing. All right, let's jump outside of the spiritual realm for a second here. What can you tell us about yourself outside of being a teacher, outside of the mediumship and the Reiki? Tell us a little something about you that your listeners wouldn't know.
Oh God. I don't know. I feel like I'm so open on the podcast and I do share so much of my life on social media and things like that. I'm not shy about that. So I would say, I guess maybe, oh my God, Mark, I don't even know how to answer this one. Um,
We can move on to the next one. I love questions like this because I love to learn. I just love to learn about people and what makes them who they are, right? Like
right.
what are those things that you like when you go outside and you're looking around? What are the thoughts that go through your head? What are the things that make you happy?
Oh gosh, I think traveling and experiencing different cultures and really just living life to its fullest, like in the moment. I think that because I see so much about the future for so many people, I forget myself to live in the moment. And so when I am out, let's just say, for example, I was on the lake yesterday with my nephews and my family, and I was in the water and I was swimming, and I thought, God, this feels good, this to be alive, like in this moment. And those are the things that I think I forget to do is to really just let loose and be Karina sometimes. Like I'm always so on because I work full time. And when I'm not working, I'm, recording or I'm editing or I'm writing. And there isn't a lot of spare time for me these days. So I just really try to remind myself to be present. Like swimming is my absolute favorite thing in the world. I swear I was a fish in another lifetime. Like I could put my head underwater and be the happiest I've ever been. So I guess that's it. I'm not
I
very
can
exciting.
understand the swimming part for sure. But what makes you so I think you said it best there is the right now. I'm in the now. I'm in this moment. How hard is it for you to stay in the moment?
Oh my God, so hard. And probably because most of my time that I'm off and that I am, thinking for myself, I think I project myself so far into the future of where I'm going to be, where I'm going to be living. Am I going to be, are my kids going to be happy? Am I going to be happy there? I really have a hard time staying present most days because first of all, I'm a daydreamer. Most clairvoyant people are daydreamers. That's where we spend most of our childhoods is in the other realm, daydreaming about what can be. And so, I find it hard to be present a lot of the times. Yeah, I find that I have to remind myself to reel it in and be like, nope, just be in the moment for today and try to, I guess, just find the joy in the moment without projecting too far into the future. Because then I start to get worried, right? And worry is such a waste of time. And I talk about that all the time. But when you're so used to being that person who can help the other, someone else or a client or a student give them advice for their next 6 months and you don't have your own advice coming to you, it's really difficult. I find it hard to be present.
I
Does that
can I
make
can
sense?
understand that. Yes, it does.
I get
And
lost in the what ifs,
yes, it makes total sense. I have a hard time staying in the present as well. And I don't even have half the abilities you have. So the present, I feel like, and correct me if I'm wrong, but that should be a goal of everybody in this world is to feel the present moment and stay there. Would you agree with that?
I do. I think we're all guilty of worrying about the future. How can we be happy tomorrow? Like, we do project ourselves into, well, when I get this, I'm going to be happy. When I can quit my job, I'm going to be happy. When I can move, I'm going to be happy. Like, these are the things that we do get carried away with. And I'm just as guilty of that, but I think that's where we need those daily reminders, and meditating can really help with that. And my meditating is cleaning. So when I'm cleaning my house, that's where I'm getting my best ideas and I feel really present in myself and in my life. And that grounds me. I know that's like a really weird thing, but it's my thing.
No,
And that
that's
helps.
not weird. Sorry to interrupt you. That's not weird at all.
Okay.
Mine's driving. That's where I get most of my meditation done. And I know somebody's going to be listening to this and go, "How can you meditate while you're driving?"
Great. Yeah. I feel safe on the road. Just kidding.
No, but it's really true. That's where most of my thoughts and cleansing comes is when I'm driving because I'm at peace with myself at that point in time.
Yeah, that's true. That happens to me as well sometimes, right? I get it.
Okay, moving on here. What was the defining moment or event in your life that made you decide to become spiritual, and how did you feel about it?
Well, wow, that's a tough question too. I think there's so many things that happened in my life that really helped me to believe that there was something bigger than us out there. And I would probably say that defining moment was when I was about 25 or so. And my mom had actually gotten really sick and she was sick for about 3 weeks. And I took her to 3 or 4 different hospitals. I was running her around. I was doing everything to help her. She just was, vomiting straight for 3 weeks and so, so sick. And it's such a long story, but the point of it is that she ended up having a brain aneurysm, and no one believed me that something was really wrong. And I just trusted my gut on that. Every single time I heard, no, it's just a migraine, take her home, I would be like, no, something's really wrong. And it was the night before her operation. We were told that she wasn't going to make it, and the chances were only 2%, like fear of survival rate. And there were so many negatives about it. And I remember going home that night, and she was actually at St. Michael's Hospital downtown in Toronto. And St. Michael's Cathedral, like I'm Catholic, and so, there's a cathedral across the street. And I remember that night praying like I've never prayed before. And during her operation, I went into that cathedral. I went down on my knees and I said, if you just spare her life, I'll do anything. Um, and sorry, I haven't even talked about that in so long. Um,
My
but I
God.
remember, I remember praying from my soul of begging God to save her because I wasn't ready to let her go. I knew it wasn't her time. And so I think it was 8 hours later after the operation, we had gone back in, and the neurosurgeon came out and told us that she had survived it. They put a metal clip, they drilled out her skull, put a metal clip on her nerve. And within 24 hours, she was sitting up, eating, talking. She survived it. And the doctors came in and said, we have no idea how you survived that. Like, you're an absolute miracle. And it was in that moment that I believed wholeheartedly that there was something so much greater than us. And that prayer, if we say it from our souls and our heart and we genuinely mean it, can really be received well and miracles can happen. So
Oh
I
my
would say
God.
that's what changed a lot for me back then, Mark, back then.
I have goosebumps all over me listening to that story, and I'm about ready to start crying myself. That was what a beautiful story that is. And then you had to follow, I guess, what you said you would do. The right? You would do
Yep.
anything. So what was the next step after that?
So that was when I was 25. So I went through about just, close to 10 years of learning and opening up my soul. And I would say that that's when all of the old traumas started to hit. And there were some that I was unaware of that, I had repressed for so many years. And so that all came out. And I was given a choice, I believe, by Spirit. I was shown everything after my children were born because I think Spirit knew that had I seen any of those traumas prior to my kids, that I would have ended my life. And my kids saved me in every possible way. And it was then that I went seeking help. I went to a few spiritual healers and psychics myself, trying to heal the parts of me that were so broken. And when I realized that I could see and feel and hear and know all of these things from the spiritual realm, that really saved me, and that put me into, or put me on my path, I should say. And here I am today.
Wow. So you could almost say that that was the beginning of your awakening then.
It was, absolutely. It was, right around 36 years old. I was around 36. My youngest was about a year around that time when things just started to unfold and the spiritual journey happened. And it happened fast. I was fast tracked into it because I was meant to be a teacher. And so Spirit pushed me hard, and I almost quit so many times, but here I am,
Uh,
still
yeah,
here.
you forgot the adjective in teacher. Great teacher.
Well, thank you.
You're very welcome.
Went through hell and back to get here.
Yes. All right. So moving on from there, it says you've grown, you've gone through your awakening, things have happened. How did you obtain blind faith in energy healing like Reiki and mediumship? What was the common phrase you used to keep moving forward with for yourself?
Oh, I would say it's that saying by Gandhi, to find yourself is to lose yourself in the service of others. And I feel like what kept me going was knowing that there were so many people out there that were drowning like I once was. And I would do anything, anything to help others, anything. And I knew that there was something greater than us. I've had that proof over and over and over through my whole life. So it was quite easy for me to trust in the healing and mediumship. I didn't really question it. I just knew. I felt them. I never felt alone. I felt that I was fully supported from the other side, and I think that's what kept me moving forward at all times. Like, I have a mission. This is the mission that I was sent here for, and I'm going to fulfill it.
Wow, that's just incredible. Just incredible. It's amazing how you went down a path of despair, we could say, hard
Mhm.
times, grief, everything all bundled up into one, and you came out the other side the way you are today. I commend you for that. I really, really do. It's just a beautiful story. Thank you for sharing that.
Thank you. It's hard, but it's who I am.
It's definitely defines you, that's for sure. Synchronicities. Can you explain what they are? Quickly,
Synchronicities.
briefly?
Yeah, and I'm no expert, but I do know it's like little moments in time, everything lining up together that help you to understand that your path is all divinely planned. So it can be running into someone and you're like, "Oh my God, I was meant to meet them. I know that I was meant to meet them because spirit put them on your path at the right time, at the right place." You found my podcast, back in the day when you first listened because of your wife. That's a synchronicity. Hey, she found the podcast. Hey, Mark, listen to this. And then that's a synchronicity because you did listen and then you reached out. Like all of these little things lining up in divine timing.
Well, I can say that your podcast was the beginning of my awakening. That's that,
Isn't that
that's for
funny?
sure. Yeah, it's pretty crazy. So, based on what you just said there on synchronicities, what was the defining moment where you said, "Okay, I get it. That was a synchronicity. I am supposed to become a healer and a teacher. This is definitely my soul's path, and I will no longer doubt this and change my ways." What was that one synchronicity that made you think that?
Oh gosh, I think there were probably many, but one that maybe stands out is when I first went to my Reiki master's house. I did a whole episode called To My Reiki Master on the podcast, but in that episode, I had explained where I had gone to practice Reiki, and I wasn't even a practitioner, but when I had put my hands over this woman, and I had seen a lump in her breast and validated that for her at the end of it, it was that moment that I was like, "Oh my God, I can see, I really can see. Oh my God." And I want to help people. And I think that was a huge one for me because from there it was like I didn't question my path. I knew that I was meant to do it.
That's awesome. Wow. What what a moment that must have been for you.
Oh, it was.
Jeez.
I've had many, but that was one in the beginning for sure.
Yeah, I love it. That's another great story.
That's
Okay,
okay.
let's talk about humility. Um, this is something that yeah, you had to talk to me about on my first reading with you, and because I had lost some humility, and you explained to me how important it was. How do you stay humble? Because with your abilities, it could be very easy to fall off the path,
Yeah.
and keep your humility, and understand that this is an ability that you have, and you're very humble about it, and you don't brag about it. It's like how is it something you practice? Is it something that you say to yourself, or is it just something you've learned to grow with?
I would say I work really, really hard at reminding myself of how I'm just a channel of light. It's not me. It's not what I can do. I just happen to be able to be that medium in between worlds. So just as if, a lawyer comes into the world and they have that talent to help someone in a case, or a doctor or surgeon that comes in and that's their ability. That's what they were born to do. That's how I remind myself to stay humble. I was just born into this, that this is what I came on a mission to fulfill. And I always remind myself that I'm here to help others. I don't want anyone to ever suffer or be on death's doorstep like I once was. And if I can do anything, it will be to continue to help others in any possible way that I can. And I think that's what reminds me to stay humble. I've seen it where people sometimes open up and it, can be taken as like this power all of a sudden that comes over them and they might manipulate people with it. And I've seen that. And I think that's why a lot of psychics get a bad rap, for trying to manipulate others and maybe take advantage of people's kindness. And I see it all the time. And that's why I became a teacher, I believe, is that I know that I have to always stay grounded, stay true to myself, and not succumb to the power and greed that can happen. And I'm just always reminded of how I was once low and how it saved my life. And that keeps me humble because I know that I really am lucky to be here in so many
Wow.
ways.
So yeah, it is something that from based on your answers, something that you have to almost remind yourself daily that, you know what, this is I am just a medium. This is God or the universe's work that's channeling through me, and I'm just the messenger. Am I
Yeah.
hearing that correctly?
For sure, because I think there's sometimes, people will come to me and go, "Oh my gosh, I heard about how amazing you are," and stuff, and it's like icky to me in a way because I think, gosh, I don't want to feel like better than anybody because I'm not. I'm not special because I have this ability. It's like I said, I'm no different than the surgeon or the dentist who has an ability to, cut someone open. Like I can't do that. You know, my ability is, yeah, I can just happen to talk to the other side. And I think it's important to remind, not that I need that reminder all the time. I'm not saying that by any means. I've just, over the years, um, always known that in my soul that I wanted to be of service and to help people on the deepest level, that's always just kept me grounded. Does that make sense? Like I don't have to remind myself all the time, like, oh, Karina, don't get into your head and like, get a big head. It's not like that. I still hide from what I do. I still don't always come out and say, "Hi, I'm Karina. I work as a medium." Like, it's just not, I don't do that. I have a hard time with that still. I'm working on that, but I think that's what is always in my soul is to kind of stay true to who I am, if that makes sense. I hope
It
I'm getting this out right
No,
too.
no, it makes total sense. I'm following you through and through here. This this path of being a medium, or even just an energy healer with Reiki is a little bit out in left field,
Yeah.
and people don't know how to accept it. And remaining humble at the same time is only going to justify exactly what it is you're trying to do. Does that make
Mm-hmm.
sense?
Mm-hmm. And I
That's
think I was going to say, I think sometimes that I've seen it where people open up, they have this ability and they get carried away with it and it becomes using the power in, in the wrong way. And I've seen them um almost manipulate others. And that's a scary thing for me. And that's, I think, why I became a teacher because, or they made me become a teacher because I'm that reminder for everybody like, look, yes, you're going to have these crazy abilities that you're going to know things that most people won't. And you're going to see things that most people don't. So stay true to who you are and don't run away with that ego of I'm better than everybody because no, we're not. Not at all.
what great advice for everyone. Just that whole comment there. That was awesome. I loved it. All right, let's move on to some other questions I have for you. Okay, out of all of the teachings you were taught or learned on your own while walking your path, which one stands out the most and why? What was that one defining lesson that you learned that changed your whole life?
Ooh, okay. I know exactly what that is. Fear attracts more fear and brings negative situations to you. So that was probably the biggest lesson that I learned over the years. I think, especially when I opened up to the spirit world. I think what's, as a kid, I was terrified of the other side. I was terrified of ghosts and spirits and all the bad, dark things. And as I opened up, I think I did get carried away at one time, worrying so much and being so fearful of everything, my own shadow, that I attracted so much, and I attracted negative situations to me all the time. And yes, I will say a lot of those were lessons, but I feel like I wish that I would have not been as fearful, because maybe things might have been different. I mean, I can't go back in time, obviously, like those were supposed to happen. But I think what I learned was that fear really is false evidence appearing real. It tricks your mind into believing that all of these negative things can happen. And I would say that's the greatest thing that I did learn, was to really remind myself that it is false evidence appearing real, that it's not even possible. It hasn't happened. So why am I going to start worrying about things that I could create? Because your thoughts create your reality. And that was the greatest thing I think I learned and would love to share with others, is that fear is something to really put to the wayside, because it's really pointless to be fearful, because you do attract things that are negative.
That is so true. That is so true. And I think that word fear, some people don't even realize that they have that what they're thinking is a fear, I guess is what I'm
Hmm.
trying to say. You could sit there and say, no, I'm not afraid of anything, but deep down inside, you don't even really understand what the fear is.
Right. Yeah.
And yeah, and it's you've been lucky enough to be able to connect with that and and learn your lessons from it and teach others. I think that's amazing. I really do. Let's talk about the word love a little bit here. Um, let's see. Do you feel love physically, and is it energy based
Like from who?
from your family, from others, from anybody?
Um,
How do you feel love? I guess is the question.
I suppose like everybody else, like from the soul, from that warm, fuzzy feeling, I can always tell if someone's got pure intentions towards me, or um, what their thoughts really are. I mean, that's the problem. And I guess there's a plus and minus to being psychic, right? It's like sometimes I know things, and then other times I'm like, damn it, I know things, you know? And so I would say even knowing when someone's intentions are pure, and I feel this energy that kind of washes over me, that feels safe. That's when I know it's love. When I feel anything else besides that, then I know that it's not always with the purest intentions.
Okay, great answer. I like that. Outside of your family, how do you give love to strangers? What does giving love feel like to you? And did it always feel this way?
Um, I would say for me, I love when I can actually smile at someone genuinely. That to me is loving another soul. When I can look someone in the eyes, make eye contact, and just smile with my whole heart, that to me is spreading love and giving love as a healer, as a human. I feel like that is important to me, because I think there's too many people that avoid love and they withhold it. And to me, I want to be like the Care Bear that walks around just spreading joy and love and to everybody that I can. And I mean, I know that's not always possible. But there's so many that need it and actually receive it. And that is a gift to me, to be able to just smile, smile with our souls, not just our eyes, but our whole soul. And people can feel it.
I love that answer. Oh my God, I love that answer. All right, moving on from that. Oh, you have me so far off track right now with that answer because I just loved every minute of it. One of the things that I grew up hearing from others was, "I'm too nice. You're just too
Mm,
nice." How do you how do you say that to another human being? How can a person be too nice?
that's right.
It baffles my mind. It just baffles my mind. I don't think anybody in this world can be too nice. That's for sure. I think it's misconstrued to a sense that if somebody is kind, that they just want something.
Right.
And it's a shame that, society has brought us to that point where we can't trust somebody because they're being nice,
True. Yeah,
right?
it's a tough thing.
It really is, and I think that's why I really wanted to hear your answers about love. I think that was one of those. I think it was more for me than your listeners on that one.
Okay. Well, I'm glad if it helps in any way, by all
Oh
means.
my God, it so did. It was just incredible. It validates the fact that, you know what, I'm going to continue to be too nice. I'm going to be continue to be that guy that smiles with my soul and looks at people very differently. And it's
Yeah.
okay. And if you don't like it, that's your prerogative, not mine, right?
True.
So it is
Yeah,
what it
and
is, right?
you wanna know something, Mark? I think the reason that I love to put so much love out there into the world was because there were so many people throughout the course of my life that were so unkind to me that I never wanted to be that way. I never wanted to allow the damage and the hurt that people projected onto me to spill over out of me. And so I changed it. I wanted to do the opposite. I wanted to love harder. And so that's what I made a pact to myself that that's what I would do till the day I died. And I will.
Wow, I love it. I just so love it. Okay, I'm gonna dive down to a different question that I was gonna ask later, but because we're on this topic, I think it's a great segue to ask this question. In the episode of your podcast, Hurt People," you mentioned in that episode that love is the weapon of the future. What did you mean by that?
Oh my God, did I even say that? I
Oh
can't even
yes, that's
remember.
one of the most beautiful things I've ever heard in my life. Like
I'm gonna have
that
to
was
go back and
incredible.
listen. The channel, I don't know.
Uh,
No, but I do know what it means. I think, and that's basically what I just said. I think so many people have been treated unkindly and have been hurt. And I think that most people instantly come to that place of let me hurt you then because I'm hurting and I don't know what to do with this anger. But I think that our jobs as healers, as spiritual counselors, is to help these people to understand that there comes a time where we just have to break that karmic cycle. I get it. We've been hurt. I've been treated so poorly in so many ways, and yet I love 10 times more than that. And I know that that's not always possible, but really, if we could just have everybody understand that love can move mountains. Love can change everything. Love can really make us to soften our hearts in this, what I consider to be a hard world. How can that be wrong? And if I can go out there and preach that and then teach that to all of the students and then they take that and it's the domino effect. Love can change everything in this physical realm. It really can.
Do you think it would be a good lesson for someone to begin that path of starting to love again by loving themselves first?
That's the key. How can we accept love if we don't love ourselves? And I know that it's a difficult thing to do. I know that it's not always easy because we live in our past all the time. We beat ourselves up over and over for all the poor choices that we think we made. And so that makes us to not love ourselves really. And so how can we go out and love someone else and with our whole hearts if we're not loving who we are? Because that's just not fair to the other person in a sense. Like we have to learn to love all of our good, the bad, the mistakes, what we consider to be mistakes, before we can, yeah, love others and be loved.
If there was something that you could teach or tell someone to start learning to love themselves, what would that teaching be? What would that phrase or comment be to them?
Very, very simple. Let your past go. And the reason I say that is because the reason people don't like who they are is because they overanalyze every decision, every word that they've used, every statement they've said to someone. And that is going to be the biggest block in anyone's life. We have to learn that the past is done. Forgive yourself for what you think you did or didn't do and move on. And that is the key to loving yourself.
Mm,
Simple.
That was a great lesson that you taught me in our Reiki class. I went home with that. So that's yeah, I agree with that cold-heartedly for sure.
Mhm.
And I was able to take that and really change the way I thought about myself and open up and different things. So what a great piece of advice that is. It does work.
Does. I mean, it takes practice. I'm not going to lie and say, "Oh, it's so easy." It took me, the last 10 years to really let a lot of things go, and I think we have a tendency to beat ourselves up and overanalyze everything, and that is the block from loving ourselves because we don't like the decisions we've made. But if we just learn to say, okay, I made these choices. Were they the right choices? Maybe not. But I've learned and I'm going to be better than I was yesterday. That's it. And then just start to just say that over and over. It's like a practice of, I'm going to be better than I was yesterday. I am not perfect, but I haven't met one person in this world who is perfect. So I think if it's recognized that way or acknowledged that way, it's easier to let go and just say, okay, the past is done. All I have is this moment. How can I love myself right now? What can I do?
So to summarize that, I would say you don't wake up changed, you wake up with a willingness to change.
Ooh, good one. Yes, very much so. Very much so. Like it is, it
It's
takes
work.
that. It
It's
takes the
work.
effort and it's a conscious choice to be better than we were yesterday. It is a conscious choice. And that's what I said in that episode, I think, about hurt people hurt others. I get it. You're hurting. Someone hurt you. Yes, someone hurt you. Someone hurt me too. Many. And I didn't go out and hurt people intentionally because I was hurting. It's a choice to stop and change everything for
Mm,
yourself, but for everyone around you that you love.
yeah, I think what I'm catching from that message is as soon as you start to love yourself and begin that change within you, it automatically radiates to outside of you and how
Yeah,
you treat others.
it really does. It really does. Can you imagine if I decided not to do the healing work on myself or start loving who I was? I would probably be a miserable person and mean. Maybe I would be mean and just, well, I don't know. I,
You'd be
th-
different for sure.
I think so.
Yeah, you of
And
course. You would because you'd be stuck in the negative thoughts. You'd be stuck in the negativity of what the world has instead of the positivity where you are today.
yeah, and I try my best to just let a lot go because I can't live in my past. I know that. I know that. And that's the biggest lesson for all of us. Let the past go, move on, do it differently, change. You can change at any time. Like it's not like even if you've been hurt and you've hurt other people, okay, yes, let it go, forgive yourself, start again, right? You have today to
Would
make
you
a
say
difference.
would you say it's harder to be positive than it is to be negative?
Of course it is. I would say it takes practice, it takes a lot of hard work. And I think people try and then they give up too easily because negativity is very powerful and strong. And I think we can get carried away with the frustration, all of the negative vibrations, it's easy to sit in that, right? And it's like a lot of people in the world are negative. And so trying to be positive or not trying, being positive is an effort. It takes effort. We all slip into it. I just told you, this afternoon that I can get frustrated with little things sometimes and I have to consciously choose to let it go and be positive, change it, turn it around, right? Because otherwise it'll ruin my entire day. And I don't want that. I don't deserve that. I deserve to be happy. That's my gift from spirit is to be happy within my soul. But if I choose that negativity to get in there and it fester, then it's going to ruin everything within my soul. And maybe it could be days. It might take me days to come out of that. Why? I don't want that. I have my moment, I let it go, and then I'm work on being happy and making that a choice.
Can you share an experience of something that started off negatively but ended up being one of the most positive experiences you encountered as a teacher in both Reiki and mediumship?
Okay, well, I guess I have to think about that one. I would probably say when I've witnessed someone who was really at the end of their life, or sorry, that they were just ready to give up, and they were brought to me somehow. Spirit trusted them with me, and I watched their journey unfold right before my eyes and watched their lives be saved in so many ways. That to me is the most positive thing, where it was like watching my old self go through what I went through and seeing it in someone else and knowing that I was that person that got to be the medium for them in between worlds to help them survive. That would probably be the best experience I could share.
Wow, I love it. In your field, in your journey, you had mentioned that being a psychic can sometimes have its negative traits of knowing, and it kind of, I would say your mind is probably very seldom quiet. If you
It's very
could,
seldom quiet.
yeah, for sure, I can just imagine. If you could trade your gifts in or your abilities in and live a quieter life, would you?
Oh, wow. That's a powerful question. Um, no, I wouldn't. I I believe that I went through hell and back in my life in order to be who I am today. And as much as it's really taxing on my soul, on my mind, on my heart, I wouldn't change it. No, I wouldn't change it for the world because helping others really just keeps me alive and hopeful and full of faith in something bigger than us. And as hard as it can be, I love it. I love it, love it, love it, love it. I mean, if I, could have a full-time cook and, someone to help watch my kids all day and do all these things, oh my God, I would probably take on many more clients. But I'm still a mom, I'm still a wife, and I still have other things to do. I still wouldn't change it. Nothing. Because to me, to be of service to others is my purpose. I know that in every ounce of my being. As much as I'm exhausted and I cry alongside others, it takes its toll on me. I wouldn't change it at all. Because knowing that I've made an impact on someone else's life is enough to keep going.
Wow. And you have made an impact on many people's lives. So thank you for being you. That's for sure. What a great answer that was. Selfless, like usual. Way to go, Karina. My goodness, I love it.
Well, Mark, as much as I would love to keep everybody on here listening, I will say that we're going to do another part to this. We're going to do part two. So I think for today, we'll let everybody sit with what we've said, and we'll welcome you back on the podcast in a couple of weeks and we'll do part two. And on that one, we're going to talk about some Reiki and more in depth about mediumship because I think that's really important. And I'm just so grateful that you wanted to come on and actually interview me today. I think this was fantastic. So thank you so much.
Oh, you're very welcome. I'm learning so much at the same time. So thank you for the opportunity. I really appreciate it. This has been fun.
And I want to thank all of you for coming on today and listening to us babble on the Divine Messages podcast. And until next time, we'll talk to you all later. If you would like to book a reading with me, I can be reached at www.divinemessages.ca or on Instagram at divinemessages333 or at the Divine Messages podcast. Please bear in mind that the perspectives and opinions represented in this podcast are based solely on the Divine Messages interpretations. We can in no way be held responsible for the actions of our followers.